So here I am, my last day at Wonderfest. Looks like I'll be headed home with some storms. Anyway, I'd like to say this is the Nick Tate. This is the Ego Obsession. It's a little bit something that's be coming out very soon. You'll hear from the speaker, and best of all, you'll be hearing from Nick Tate. And you know, if you want to help me with this channel, go to my Fine Art America, maybe buy some artwork from me or something like that, and that will help me out. There's a lot of work this weekend. I don't know what, you know, this is like 4 or 5 videos from this show, and that's where I stayed. But yeah, it's like and subscribe so I can keep going to events like this. It's not cheap, and I do my best to show you everything that's just about here, at least as far as every model kit and dealer. Thanks. Enjoy the Nick Tate show. Really nice guy, by the way. I mean, if you went up to him, he asked you what your name was, and everybody that I talked to said he's one of the nicest celebrities that you ever want to meet. It's an interesting interview or panel. Thanks. So I'm not going to show this whole video. I don't want, you know, go to look for this on YouTube or Venmo or whatever it is, and look for yourself. And there's music playing, so I can't have this playing.
So thanks everybody for checking that out. Everything was really fun. Actually, I had never seen it that big. So that was pretty fun, actually. And what I realized, you know, I've been making this thing with the plan of putting it on the big screen, being theatrical. And we actually have we've been talking with Cinemark Theaters about actually distributing it, and we've got a good shot. And I think it looks like it'll work, you know? So, yeah. So, yeah. I've had people say, "Did you make an IMAX film?" I'm like, yeah. So, well, again, really appreciate everybody watching that and everything. So we've got some more surprises here also for today, but it's just fun to have Nick here. It was, I just cannot tell you what an honor it's been to work with him on this project and get to meet him and everything. And we had an amazing adventure this past week in London, so that you guys saw us building that set, right? Yeah. We got it finished, got Nick over, and we actually filmed inside the cockpit. We did an interview inside the cockpit, and you know, we had a kind of a reimagined version of his costume, and I got to sit next to my childhood hero in the cockpit. I cannot tell you guys what that was like. It was huge.
I was the one that had the script. So, any questions about what you've seen?
Yeah.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Yes.
You see Nick was wearing the spacesuit.
Yeah.
But when you were in the cockpit, did you wear a spacesuit?
I did not wear a spacesuit. No, that's an honor for him. That was,
He shriveled.
No, I just sat there and just enjoyed the moment. We have some photos. I'll pull them up. John should have them pulled up, and we'll let you guys see some photos from it too. But, Machinarium, the guys who built the set, they actually whipped up a quick costume for him too. And you know, we got it as close as we could with the amount of time we had. You know, so yeah, good work. Other questions about what we saw there? Well, I'm happy to discuss anything.
Okay.
I'm sure that set's large, but could it show up here next year?
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, we built it with the plan. So this film, I've been personally financing it and with my company and everything, right? And we spent neighborhood 150 grand on that set, you know, to get it built. It mattered that much to me, and I felt like I want people to understand what this matters to, not just to me, but to all of us, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that people are going to be very surprised all around the world when they see this film and see what we've done, right? Yeah. I designed the set with the goal of it being transportable, but I'll tell you, as Nick will tell you, it was not that easy to throw together. They actually had a plan to put it together in 2 days. It took them over 3. We were supposed to be shooting at 9 a.m. on Thursday. They didn't get the thing ready for shooting until 3:30. Okay, and they'd been working on it several days before that.
They did an all-nighter, didn't they?
They did an all-nighter, yeah, to get it ready for us. And I'm not sure, I would like to bring it, but we'll see. You know? So yeah, supposedly when they took it apart, they kept it in larger chunks.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see what happens, you know, and everything. But there is a possibility that it will live at Pinewood Studios as part of their like legacy of the studio, because Space 1999 was shot there. And I'm going to be going back in July to meet with them and talk about that too. So I'm also going to be going back and trying to pitch a ITV on rebooting the show. I think it's something we need to do. So, yeah. So there was a question over here.
Yeah, the 7-meter model. Why did they choose 7 meters? Since you've gone that big, why not just make it so you can get in it?
Well, one, his wife said. His wife said it can't be big enough that it disrupts our backyard.
Disrupts
right?
the
Yeah.
backyard.
So he was originally making it. So one thing to understand, what you're seeing there are excerpts from the documentary. So each section, like for example, the interview I did with Nick it's at Wonderfest last year. It's going to be a couple minutes longer than what you're seeing here. I was just trying to give a sample.
Yeah.
When Jan and I talk, you'll see we go through his house. We talk to him. He shows me his backyard and where he was going to go. They were watching some daycare kids, and this originally started out as a play set for daycare kids. Okay, and it was going to be a different
That's a
spaceship.
good excuse.
Yeah. It was going to be a different. There's actually a Danish comic book that he was going to build a spaceship from that. And then he realized he liked the eagle more, so he started working on that. And so there's a big concrete slab in his backyard where he was talking about putting it. But then he did such a good job creating it. Everyone's like, you can't put that in your backyard, So we're not sure what we're going to do with it yet. John and I have been talking about. He's actually painted it fully now, and is putting details on it and everything. It's amazing. I'm actually planning to go back in July to film one more section with it. So.
Well, he might have 5 acres in Florida. I could have
Okay, I'll let him know. Yeah.
So is the interior of that one fully visible and modeled out?
No. It's all about the exterior. But this is a guy who spent his own money and his own time. He literally, just to make the command module, it took him a year to do that. So like he glued together these individual sticks, hundreds of them, glued them together, and then spent a year sanding it to get into that shape. So it's just crazy. So that's literally, this documentary was originally called The Eagle Has Landed. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, man, it's kind of an obsession for some people, and including Jan, right? So, it makes sense.
Great name.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah.
The film quality is really so good.
Yeah.
What method did you use? What film?
Well, okay, so I'm a filmmaker by trade. It's my thing. It's like I've been developing some big feature films. You can see some of my work. There's a movie called Oceanus that's an underwater adventure that I did about it's futuristic submarines and stuff underwater. And before that I used to direct music videos and commercials and things like that. And the one edict for me making this film is that it's got to be a movie, like not just like some. It's interesting. I have partners who pitched me the idea of just like invite a bunch of people to New York and set up 2 cameras and have talking heads. And to me. To me, it was much more exciting to get out in the field and travel and everything. So we've been shooting this with Sony cameras. Every shoot's been 2 cameras. We've done a lot of drone work. You see all the shots we did with the drones and everything. That's new technology, right? In the last few years, to be able to fly these really high quality drones. And the one thing I do, if you guys are interested, we have a behind the scenes. I want Nick and I to talk to you a little more about the project, but I can show you some of the things we've shot in the future, ahead of what we did there. And so since that stuff you saw, we shot another 20 days. And in that 20 days, I went to San Francisco, and I actually don't tell anybody, but I had a drone, and I had my crew down by the Golden Gate Bridge. I was like, I wonder if we could go over there. And we actually flew the drone along the Golden Gate Bridge and everything. So that's the kind of footage that I've been getting for this film. And I think people are going to be really shocked when they see it. And I'm hoping that this, when it cuts together, I even have new visual effects sequences we're planning to do. I'll show you guys some of that stuff. There's all kinds of things we're doing with this. So to answer your question, my goal has been to make this as cinematic as possible. So I've used cinematic tools to do it as a filmmaker. It's been super important to me. Yeah.
When did you just decide one day you were going to do this, or did you really think it out, or was it just like a...
Okay, so that's an excellent question. So I was, my wife and I were down in Florida visiting her parents. They live in Fort Myers area, and we were, I don't know, one day I was just sitting in the bedroom for a second. I was thinking about the eagle for some reason. I was like, why do I like this so much? why do I have these? Like, and then I started thinking about all the different people I knew in the world, like Todd, you know, and like, why do we all like the Eagles so much? And then I started, and this light bulb went off, and I was like, it's not about the Eagle. It's about the future. And it's about the future that didn't happen, at least for me, okay? And I think the Eagle continued to epitomize the future that I wanted to grow up to live in, right? So when I first saw Space 1999, I was 7. I was born in 1967. I saw it first run, but I was a little kid. But I was a different kind of little kid. Maybe some of you were too. I was cool with this grown-up stuff and this moon base and all these things, right? I'd been studying NASA stuff since I was little, smaller than 7, right? And so when I heard there was a show called Space 1999, I'm like, this sounds amazing. I watched the show, I did the math, and I thought I could grow up and be somebody at Moonbase Alpha. I could grow up and be this guy, right? You know, and so that's what connected me to wanting to make this documentary. And I started realizing that there's a bigger story here. The last thing I want to say about it is that my goal with this movie is that it can reach people who've never even heard of Space 1999, who've never heard of the Eagle. And when you see what we've shot, it gets a lot bigger than that. We get into all kinds of visions of the future you saw when I was at NASA, right, for example, right? I mean, there's so many things I did in this documentary that are going to be so much bigger than the Eagle. But the Eagle's the one continuing line throughout the entire film.
It's iconic.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the idea. So once I hit that idea, I decided to go for it. So yeah.
Regarding the reconstruction of the Eagle Command Module, what was the size and scale of the set altogether?
Well, it's exactly like it was 50 years ago. You know, it's the exact same scale. I don't remember we'll show you some photos, some behind-the-scenes photos. But I mean, it would fit in this room, you know, and we tried to. I'm sorry, I can't tell you the exact dimensions, but we researched it thoroughly, and I worked with a gentleman named Tim Earls, who's a production designer. He's worked on like a lot of the Star Trek shows, Babylon 5, most recently For All Mankind. And so Tim and I spent about 5 months researching and planning this out before we shot it. So that's how it got, you know, so before we built it. So the super extensive plans are perfect. We built it in CG. We were able to fly in and out of it. You know, it was all planned out. So yeah.
So in 1975, its special effects were so cutting edge. I'm observing your Eagle, and I've seen your video on YouTube. The emotions are so fluid.
Yeah.
It's what you just said, cinematic. It's awesome.
Well, thank you very much. So it's very interesting to bring that up because I've had people go, why not make it feel like today's visual effects? And I was like, no. That would be a huge mistake, right? It's like, I don't want to make it super, like, you know, like when I first showed those shots to Brian Johnson before they ever were out in the world. And Brian was really enthusiastic about it because he said, this is what we would have done if we could have, right? And that was my goal with the visual effects, was to do, like, pay homage to what Brian and his team did, and not to reinvent it, but to say, you know, if they could do it, you know, if they'd had these tools back then, what would they have done? You know, and that's why I'm not trying to make it look like a Star Wars film or a video game, you know, that kind of thing. So I've kept the pace slower, but I've tried to make it more fluidic, and you know, there are things they couldn't have done 180 shots, for example, right? They couldn't have had the camera do that, stuff like that. They didn't even have motion control yet, so yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I got a question for Nick. So, Nick, what's it feel like to feel the love and passion of the fan base that after all these years spend this much time and money on part of your legacy?
It's amazing, and I can tell you it's a two-way street. You know, when you're working on a show, cameras, crew, everybody knows you. They're not there to be entertained, they're there to do a job. And you, in your head, having read the script and having the kind of vision that actors and directors have, you can already feel the sense of awe and drama and fear that should be there. And sometimes it's very hard for the rest of the crew to know what's going on, how that's all going to come together. But when I read the script, if I know that all that stuff is intended, and I recognize what the director is going to do, I just have to imagine that the sound effects, the lighting, and the music that will accompany it is going to suit those moments. and you try to live with those moments. In the theatre, you have it all going on. On a sound stage, you don't. You have to imagine it's going to be there for you. And sometimes the director will say, I need you to be more excited because I'm going to have such big effects around you. So I was always a very imaginative kid, and people keep on saying, how did you work out how to be an astronaut? You know, well, kind of, it was in my imagination. I ran down the backyard of my house. I wasn't a child, but in 1969 I was a young man, and I looked up at the moon and said, we've got people walking on the moon. And in Australia, the moon is very big. The sky is very clear there, you know. So I was thrilled when I came to England and they said they're going to make a television series about the moon. Wow, I'd like to be in that. And I took a big gamble because when the Andersons saw me, they said, well, pity we didn't meet you earlier, but we're all cast. And then Sylvia said, but I know your dad. My dad was on Thunderbirds. He was one of the many voices. He wasn't any of the sons. It was all the other guys. Hey, over here, come on. Who's that guy? Let's shoot him. No, don't you talk to me like that. All the different voices my dad did. I've kind of inherited some of the stuff he did. And so Sylvia already loved Johnny Tate. And so when I went to meet them, they said, Johnny Tate's son. Oh, wow, it would be great. Well, we could bring you in for the first episode, and because he dies, is that okay? And I went, yeah, you know, I just want to be here. And then fortunately for me, they took 6 weeks to make the pilot. So I was there for 6 weeks. And Lee Katzin was a very observant man as a director. And he finally said, as I said in the video that you saw, that we've already shot, he said to me one day, he said, you've got a lot of film savvy, Nick. I don't think I want to kill you. And I said, I don't want you to kill me either, man. And then, unbelievably, the Italian actor that was going to play the chief astronaut did not arrive. And it was within about 2 or 3 days that the sudden panic went round, and they had lots of young Italian-looking actors lining up outside in the casting director's office. And Lee came over to me and says, do you speak Italian? And I said, no, but is he going to be speaking Italian on the moon? He said, no, but you've got to have the accent. Can you do it? Yes, I can do the Italian accent. Why not? So anyway, I went in and did it. Sylvia and Jerry just laughed at me. And so he says, it's an international moon base. He looks German. He could be German, right? Sylvia said, well, do we really want Germans? He said, well, I didn't try it. So they, even asked the questions. I'm doing that German. It's not good, right? So she says, get out of here, Nick. And I said, I haven't lost my part, have I? And she said, no, you'll be all right, darling. And then he said, wait a minute. Why not have him do it Australian? And she says, no, there's no Australians on the moon. And I said, there's no bloody English on the moon either. And Lee loved that. He goes, see that? Look at that arrogance. That's exactly. We wanted an Italian that was arrogant. We can have an Australian that's bullshit, you know, whatever that word means. And so he said, read it Australian. She really didn't want me to, but I did. And they went, okay, go home. You know, you haven't lost your role. I went home thinking, oh God, what have I done? The phone rang at 4 o'clock. 4:30, I got home about 3, and my agent said, what did you do? I said, what do you mean, what did I do? He said, they just offered you the chief pilot. Magic. It was extraordinary.
And now, 50 years later,
yeah, this
love project falls on you.
Well, you know, I always loved the show, and I believed that it would go somewhere, and believe me, you know, a lot of you have had that love for many, many years and hoped. And from time to time, various people come up to me and say, hey, you know, somebody else that's got the rights, they're going to do it. We all get excited, and it doesn't happen. And then another one of us dies. They're all dying all over the place. And now there's this big 50-year anniversary, and you're all here, and you're all thinking, isn't it magic to see this all, that we all have this love? I can assure you that I, as an actor, am so happy after 50 years to meet all of you and feel that love. It's a two-way street. Any other questions? Somebody must have questions. There must be some more questions.
I'll start asking questions if you guys don't want to.
So, Nick, Mike, you signed some stuff for me earlier this morning. Thanks so much. It's been so great to meet you. And I know you mentioned in passing when Sandra passed away how sad you were. Who else do you keep in contact with from the actors that are still with us, the production staff, any of the writers?
So many of the writers have died too. Johnny Byrne, great guy. It's been 50 years, and if you'd imagine that most of us were 30 at the time, that means you've got to be. I'm 82, for Christ's sake. Most of us are dead. I don't know. I just happen to somehow or other be alive. I don't know how. But yeah, it's a heartbreak to see that. No, I don't keep in contact with them. I did for years and years. When I was living in London, Xenia and I would see each other. Prentice, I'd see Prentice, Anton, and then there were the occasional conventions that I went to. But I typically have not gone to conventions. You might wonder why. I find it heartbreaking. I certainly did then, because everybody was wanting the series to happen again, and I knew it wasn't going to. At least I felt in my gut it wasn't going to. But I think possibly now something could happen. It won't be that show, but it could be some kind of thing that is in homage to it. Because let's face it, if that moon is out there and those people are still surviving, they'll all be the children of the people that you saw. But it's a very good idea, and I think it could have great legs. So we shouldn't let it die.
Just so you know, also I had invited Princess Hancock and Anton Phillips to the stage. Neither one were available. Unfortunately, they both wanted to be there, but they weren't. When we were at the cockpit the other day. So when I'm back in London in July, I'm planning to have lunch with both of those guys too, and kind of reconnect with them. It should be a lot of fun. So, yep, it should be cool. So, you had a question?
Is Jeff Roman going to do the music for?
Yeah. So yeah, Jeff's doing the music for it. Yeah. He's doing the music for the soundtrack and everything, and we're gonna do a lot of really cool original music. Well, you heard the music we did for that, and that was out of his catalog, all of it. So it's
Eric knows who he is.
Yeah.
Nick, there's a lot of reproductions, very nice reproductions out there, but did you manage to keep anything original from the series?
No, I didn't. I've never been a collector of memorabilia in any way. I'm crazy because people have since given me a Comlock, given me a stun gun, all sorts of stuff. There's a wonderful man that recreated a physical, about 9-inch high Alan Carter, which sometimes people have the photographs of. He's in Germany, and he's made, I don't know, 40 or 50 of these things. They cost a lot of money, and they should, because they are beautifully crafted. I've got photographs of me. I'll show them to anybody who wants to see. If you are deeply into memorabilia and having one of those Alan Carter things, because it's a total work of art. Sadly, no, I've not got any of this stuff. But I've done many television series around the world. Lived in England for 25 years, Australia for 25 years, America for 35 years. I'm nearly a million, so I get very confused about how old I am. And you can't keep all these things. I go back to Australia, which is my physical, real home. I have got boxes and crates and trunks of things that I had in the past that I never opened. And so I'm the worst collector in the world. They're there. I might have something from Space 1999. I'm even scared to look.
Okay. Yeah, who made those stylish high-heeled boots everybody had to wear in the show?
Well, that all started with Martin Landau, because Martin was 6'2", and he'd come out of Mission Impossible where everybody was 6'7" except him, and he hated it. He wanted to be the tallest guy in the show because he'd have to look up to 3 other guys that were taller than him. So Martin was 6'2", I'm 5'9". He was already, 5 inches taller than I am. And Prentice and funnily enough, all the casts were about 5'9". And I'm certain Martin had a great deal to do with that too. Seriously, he wanted to be the big guy. And the other thing about that Italian actor that was coming to play, Alphonse Scattani, apparently he was 6'2" and beautiful looking. I wonder why he never showed up. And there's little old me wandering around going, it's great to be here, Aussie bloke. And Marty used to say to me, you did a lot of filming so I can see the way you work, interesting. And I thought, what's he talking about? well, I'm glad he likes me. I wasn't any threat to Martin whatsoever at 5'9", but he still put 4-inch heels in. He went up to 6'6", and so all the other actors said, hey, can we have a few inches in our boots? I wore 3-inch lifts in my heels, I completely confess it. I think everybody did, all because Martin was 6'7". Or Jeffrey, myself, whatever.
A couple questions actually for both you and Jeffrey. First question, originally in Dragon's Domain, it was supposed to be Alan Carter that dealt with the alien life force. Instead, they changed that. Why was that changed? That, to me, that would have brought an interesting backstory to the character of Alan Carter.
Well, you just heard the answer in the
They
previous.
didn't want him to kill them all.
No, but he just said the answer. Mark.
Martin didn't want me to do that.
He didn't want you to do it?
Yeah. I was told early on when I saw the script that that the writers had decided to write it for me, and Johnny Bone showed me the script. I went down to his house. He was talking about lots of things. The writers had to get to know me because the pilot was going to be Italian. All the scripts were written for an Italian actor. There was Italian money in the show. And right at the last minute, he wasn't coming. Nobody knew why. Now we're telling you why. Martin didn't want it to be like that. So then there was this panic, how do we turn him into an Australian? Sylvia didn't want it, Jerry didn't want it, but the director, Lee Katzin, did, God bless him. And so then they said to me, well, what would you say? How would you say this line? You know, and so we did a lot of that. And then what about his background? Who is he? Where does he come from? I said, he lived on a property and they had to have a light aircraft to get into town, and also they had to have a light aircraft to do crop dusting, so he became this kind of teach-yourself crop duster. And then he went on to joining the Australian Air Force and became their top pilot, etc., into the international astronaut training. And they loved that idea, and it wasn't all me, it was all the writers. Chris Penfold had worked for quite a while in Australia. I did a television series very early on when I was only 20, playing two brothers. It was called My Brother Jack, and he was instrumental in helping to do the scripting on that show. And he knew me very well. And so, quite coincidentally, he was a writer on Space 1999. And when finally they said Nick Tate's going to be playing this role, he went, great, you know, which was wonderful. Chris is a marvelous human being. He's alive today, he's well into his 80s, and he's writing quite a few great ideas over there in England. So you never know how many people are either pushing for you or not pushing for you in life, but you can never do it all on your own. This man is trying to do most of this on his own, and I take my hat off to what he's doing because he's very talented and got a great vision. And I'm very happy to help him and want to be part of it, you know, because he is a professional. I don't necessarily like working with enthusiastic amateurs because that's all it is, you know. You've got to have people behind you that have got not only the enthusiasm, you've got to have the enthusiasm, but they've got to have other people to believe in them. And once people with integrity and savvy and understanding of the industry start getting on board, I want to be with this guy, you know, and I want to be with him, and so should you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
The second question I had for both of you, in your opinion, what do you think of the Palace Media novels of Space 1999 and Sosa that they put together? Do you feel it recaptured what made the series so special?
I can't answer that.
I read a little bit of one or two of those, but I haven't read a lot of it, you know, and everything. I think there was one I read, oh my gosh, I think it's called Forsaken or something like that. And that book really kind of gives you a sense of what happened, kind of the transition between series 1 and series 2 in a way. And so I kind of, you know, it's fine. That was a good episode, but I haven't read a lot of those. So.
I can honestly say they are a love letter and a Valentine to the fans. In my opinion, they really recapture what made the series so special.
Anybody got any questions about the actual show?
Over there.
So the controversy around the first season and the second season, because you've got, what is it, Freddie Feinberg?
Freddie
right?
Freiberger.
came in and he's the serial killer.
Serial killer.
That's a bad word, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. No, I understand. I mean, because of Star Trek, it wasn't his fault. But what did you feel about the differences in those? They were almost like different shows.
It was a total mistake. Total mistake. He was never the right man for the job. Sylvia was always the right woman for the job. But Jerry and Sylvia had their own problems in their marriage. It happens to people. And the first series, as much as we all loved it, was not received well in America. And ITV in America was saying they held the purse strings and it's what they wanted. And they proudly said that it was going to be networked, and it was never networked anywhere. They only syndicated it anywhere. And then they said it was the largest syndication in the history of American television. Well, wonderful. But that doesn't help financially, really. It's only good for those producers. So somehow or other, Freddie Freiberger had a reputation of being able to take a show and bring it in for half the budget. Well, you can't make a show like Space 1999 that is already not Star Trek and has only picked up half the audience of Star Trek. You can't now start that again on half the budget, which is what they tried to do. So, and Freddie Freiberger said he could do it. He couldn't and he didn't.
I think also the elements that he added to the second season, you know, the monsters, and I'm not talking about Maya, but I'm talking about all the weird rubber monsters and things like. I remember watching this as a kid, and I'm like, what is this? You know, it didn't feel like the same show at all. You know, and then after talking with you, it's very clear that he did not understand the show, what the strengths were of the show.
This is a personal thing, but it just shows you what level of understanding he had of the show. When Jerry said to me, well, talk with Fred, you know, because they asked me down at the studio and said the day before they started, we'd like to have you back in the show, because they only had Martin and Barbara back in the second season, which is staggering. Barry Morse, loved by everybody, Prentice, Senior, Xenia, Anton Phillips, Clifton Jones, myself, all out of the show. And I said to Fred when he came into the room, I don't understand how you can totally recast this show. The audience will go crazy. He said, Nick, trust me, they'll never notice. I swear to God, he said, you will never notice. I thought, well, who is this man? What? Is he a genius? Do I not understand what's going on here? So I didn't like him from day one, sadly.
It sounds like he was an amateur enthusiast.
An amateur what? An amateur enthusiast. No, he was very professional. He'd been in the industry for a long while, as we've already discussed. He did the third potential series of Star Trek. He died. He did the second or the third potential of $6 Million Man. It died. Come on, what else did he kill? Space 1999.
Yep. I guess along the same lines, how did you feel about when the show started taking on a more psychedelic atmosphere in the later seasons?
You can't keep on ripping at your own self for what somebody who is supposedly in charge is doing. You have to get on and be as good as you can. And so that's what we that were left were doing. It's like being in a marriage, you know. If you want your kids to survive, you've got to stay there for the marriage. And I felt like that with this. All the people that were there with great love and understanding and wanting it to be right, I was not going to pull the plug. I just got on and tried to do what I had to do, without any control whatsoever.
Nick, what, if you had any, what would have been your favorite episode to do? Can you remember one distinctly that comes to your mind that was your favorite role to play in the episode?
Well, I can tell you that I would have loved to have done Dragon's Domain because it was written for me and Johnny Byrne showed me the script, but I never finished that story when the script came out on the floor, because you get them some weeks later. I opened it up with great excitement. I want to read the script, and I get banged on the head in the first page, and I'm in the infirmary all the way through. And an Italian actor that nobody's ever seen in all the episodes that we're on suddenly comes out as this wonderful, great astronaut that's going to solve the problem. he of course gets into terrible trouble, and Martin saves the day, kills the dragon, and he can't unfortunately help parole.
I was going to ask you, in the version where you was about you obviously weren't going to get killed, right?
No, he beats the dragon.
You would beat the dragon, right?
Yeah.
It always felt weird that Martin suddenly killed the creature at the end of that. It came out of the blue, you know. So.
And when I had the battle with Freddie Freiberger into the second series, he said he would write for me. He wanted me to be in the show. I started to tell you, and he said, "No, I've got an exciting moment. I'm going to promote you to Lieutenant Carter." I said, "You're going to promote me to Lieutenant Carter?" And he said, "Yeah." "You don't think that's a good idea?" I said, "No, because I'm Captain Alan Carter." And it was from, have you ever seen any of these shows? So that was the level of his understanding of the show. I didn't want to make it too personal, but I mean, there is a key factor that he didn't know what he was talking about. It was all Donald Trump bullshit. Sorry if any of you like Donald Trump, but he and Freddie Freiberger should be in the same place. They are in my head.
It might be fun, John. There is one aspect that I think this group would really appreciate. So a couple of things. I think we should try to run the
stills.
First off, let's show the stills real quick. And then three things. But I'd also like to show the war games. Okay. And then also the making up. No, the making up. There's three things. So there's the making up video on there because I want them to see what we end up doing with the. Yeah. So as soon as you're ready.
I got stills pulled.
Okay.
Sorry, my voice.
Maybe we want to cut the lights and we can. I want you guys to see some stills from when we were there the other day.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we warmed up. Yes, I was not wearing a spacesuit. But there's a set, you know, and we did the full thing. We even did this side of it as well. So you want to go to another? You know, it's funny. Nick, I don't know where you are, Nick. You're over there. I just want to let you know. As soon as I got home yesterday from London, I looked at some of the footage. And you look great. You're good. It looks really good. It looks like two guys chilling out, having a great conversation. That's what it looks like. So it's perfect. Yeah, it's really good. So we went to a lot of trouble to figure out how to light it and try to get it as accurate as we could. And so
Did the seats push back?
the seats do move and push, and everything. So yeah.
And you had to stand on the seat to stand back up on the walkway?
No.
Is there like a step somewhere?
Honestly, we were just kind of maneuvering so we could make it look good, basically, So this wasn't like a shooting set where we had things moving back and forth, and it was more about this specific documentary, So I was a pretty happy kid. I was like, a happy kid face right there. So. I will say this one thing. I could never imagine if someone had said to 7-year-old me, 50 years from now, you're going to be sitting in this cockpit, okay? And you're going to sit in there with Nick Tate, or Alan Carter, no less, right? I mean, can you guys imagine what that was like? It was insane. And we didn't crash. No. There's a good sense of the whole set right there, too. It's good. And I originally had Nick over in my seat. I wasn't trying to be this pilot, but what happened was we started lighting it, and Nick was like, "Hey, you know what? I sat in both seats. Let's just do it this way." And it was better for our interview to shoot it this way. So that's why I put him in that seat. So,
okay, hard.
Yeah. But I mean, we are talking about, like I said, I am talking to ITV. I mean, we've designed all the Eagle. We figured out how to build the whole thing, the interior. So it's just a question of getting there. So yeah. Wow. Yeah. But you guys can see the quality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, any more crazy questions or anything? Yeah.
Well, Jeff, for those of you that are new to seeing this, I had the opportunity to see Jeff in action a couple months ago, and he is just as professional as he says he is. It's incredible the work he achieved with the two-man crew he had hired for that. and you're really gonna like what you see.
Yeah, we shot in Omaha. At the, yeah, we shot.
Ashland, Nebraska, at the Strategic Air Command Aerospace Museum.
Yep. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I have a special treat for you guys too. So as I said, I've been redoing visual effects. So there's a sequence in the documentary where you're going to see, we're doing a recreation where it's like the 70s. I've got a little kid version of me that we're casting and a kid who's my friend, and we're playing with these toys. And what I did is I used that as an example to create a visual effects sequence around this. So you're going to see us playing with our toys, and you're going to see what we had in our heads. Okay? Yeah. So this is a sample. Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah. So what you're going to see now is one of the visual effects tests that I did. Now John and I, John Avery over here, he lives in Minnesota near me. We work together, and he and I actually used some of my miniatures and collectibles, and we shot in my basement against a green screen, and we plotted out the scene that you're going to see. So it's just kind of fun. So you want to kill the lights.
All right. So again, I can't play it's got music, so I can't play it. And I'm only playing little clips for it because I don't want to give it away and I don't want to get in any trouble. So there it is. That's pretty cool. This is coming out in next year.
Yeah, now, so what I was doing there is I was imagining what if if I could have shown effect shots of Alan, right, using today's visual effects, shooting down one of the hawks, right? And that's what we were doing there. So, yeah, it's really cool what you can do with it. So, yeah, I'll do it one more time. We had wrong is we used a season 2 eagle in a season 1 episode, so we corrected that. So that's correct now. So our eagle's been improved. It's much better, so which is cool. As a matter of fact, we've actually had some requests. We're building a miniature. Do you want to show the? Which one do you want to do next? Do you want to show the behind the scenes? All right. So I was describing to you guys some of the other things we've been shooting. There's something at the end of this that's very special that I want you guys to see. So, yeah. All right, so the end of that is what I want you guys to see. So I worked with a group of 5th graders who are around 10 years old, all of them, at an aerospace magnet in our hometown. And these kids, so I showed them episodes of Space 1999. Okay, so we're starting with the pilot. And what was amazing was seeing these young children from nowadays watch a show from 50 years ago. And they loved it. Okay? They had all kinds of good questions. We talked about it. They thought the idea of a show about a moon base. See, the thing is, the future depicted in that show is still ahead for them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So they were extremely enthusiastic about it. And you saw the scenes you saw of them talking about it and gesturing and everything, that was real. They were analyzing it. And then I had them do their own project where they figured out how to build their own eagle. And then they gave a presentation. And we caught all this on film. Okay? Wow. So the end of the movie is really about the hope that we have a future in all this. So I actually got round 2 in MPC. I grabbed a round of Eagles toy model kits and I gave them to the kids. Each one got their own model kit. So, and the girls were just as excited about it as the boys. So I was so excited about that, and I can't wait to show you. So last thing, I guess, John, is we've got an announcement here that's very specific to. So we've created a very special collectible that's to commemorate both the movie and the 50th anniversary of Space 1999. And today, we just finished this video. I just finished it this morning, so take a look at this real quick.
So what he's showing here, and I can't have the sound going for it again, but they're showing what's going to be coming out from Polar Lights. And this is going to be a new Eagle. Looks like it's basically a new decal set. And it's kind of cool. It's blue. There's a better picture of it. You can't get it with that, what I'm showing you on live video. But that's pretty neat. I always thought about doing a blue one anyway. But anyway, they're doing it, and that comes out soon from Polar Lights.
I'm super excited about that. It's I love that round 2 and NPC wanted to do that, and actually the design idea is John's actually, so it's pretty cool. So very, very happy with it. Thanks again, everybody, for all your time and attention today, and great questions and everything. And really appreciate your enthusiasm. We're going to keep you know, I'm going to be editing this thing. I should have it finished by the fall, and then it should debut next year sometime. So we'll keep you posted. But if you want any more information on it, please sign up. There's a form at the eagledocumentary.com website. You can track everything we're doing. There's going to be behind the scenes stuff. There's some cool videos we're going to be doing. You know, but it's all, with everything I showed you, I haven't even scratched the surface of what we've actually shot. So, pretty excited. All right. Anything else? Scott?
Oh, I'm just it's been an honor to work with you through all this stuff.
Oh.
You and Nick. Nick's my buddy, so, you know, we are.
Yeah. This has been a challenge, hasn't it?
Yes. Yes. We've been through a lot.
Yeah.
If you guys only had any idea, so.
Yeah. But we're sticking it out and we're getting it done. So yeah.
We're making the movie.
Yep. We're making the movie. So thanks everybody.
Or Jeffrey, go for it.
Yeah, any other final question?
All I wanted to say was one thing, and that is when you meet somebody who you've thought about since you were a child and you enjoyed their work and everything else, stuff like that, it's nice when even 50 years later when you meet them and they such exceed your expectations. Thank you.
Here's what I'm going to say to that, okay? Absolutely. Because I have met a number of celebrities in my career, okay? And this is by far my favorite one. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, and no one else even comes close. And I will tell you, meeting these icons, it sometimes can be very disappointing.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You think you know who these people are, and then you meet them, and you're like, oh my, you know, it's like, wow, okay? Yeah, this gentleman, not only did he epitomize the hero that I thought Alan Carter was, he's so much more, you know?
Yes,
So round of applause for him.
Thanks, guys. Write to my wife and tell her what a nice guy I am.
All right, everybody.
That's the scene that it says. She wakes up in a barn with a gun pointed in her face. Is that it was supposed to be, but we shot it in Hawaii. And because everybody drives on the other side of the road, we're in the reverse of the footage. So really the party in my head is on the other side. But nobody can tell because the party is not there. But to make it look real, I had to take a wedding ring off this hand, put it in this hand. So when they filmed me, in reverse footage, I'm now sitting on the right side of the road, the correct side of the road. America's on the right side of the road, but in Australia it's on the left side. So to make all that work. Yeah, and then but you've got all the cars driving on the left-hand side, and you're not in America. Who are you talking to? That's not.